Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, June 7th. I'm Sean Duhamel. Thank you so much for joining with us and tuning in again this week. So I've got some late breaking news for those of you who are impacted by the Social Security WEP and GPO and have been following this issue closely. You know that over the past 5 or 6 months, there have been 2 congressional hearings held by the House of Representatives on these issues. The first hearing took place last November, the Monday of Thanksgiving week, down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That subcommittee field hearing focused specifically on the financial impact and the unfairness of WEP and GPO on Louisiana retirees who are in the same boat as all of you. As most of you, I think, know by now, Massachusetts is one of 7 states that are primarily impacted by the WEP and the GPO. Louisiana is one of those 7 states. However, there are pockets of retirees in all 50 states who are impacted by these 2 very unfair laws. In total, as of today, there are more than 2.1 million retired public employees spread across the country who are impacted by the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. Those numbers grow every day as new people retire, find out about these 2 laws, and get involved in the ongoing advocacy efforts at the grassroots level all across the country. So in response to the growing pressure being placed not only on the House of Representatives, but also on the US Senate to either repeal or reform these 2 laws, the US Senate has chosen to hold a special field hearing today, June 7th, in Columbus, Ohio, at Firefighters Local 67, I believe. Yes, IAFF. Firefighters Local 67 in Columbus, Ohio, will be hosting today's hearing. It is chaired by US Senator Sherrod Brown, who represents the state of Ohio, hence why this hearing is being held in his home state. The ranking Republican on the committee is Senator Thom Tillis from North Carolina. Also importantly, serving as members of the committee is Massachusetts U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, as well as Louisiana U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy. Both Senator Warren and Senator Cassidy are co-sponsors of Senator Brown's legislation that would fully repeal both WEP and GPO. That Senate bill now has 57 Senate co-sponsors. They are 3 short of the required 60 votes needed to bring a Social Security bill to the floor of the U.S. Senate and have it acted upon. Over on the House side, the full repeal legislation, which of course is known as H.R. 82, that bill now has 322 co-sponsors. So with all of the pressure and, again, grassroots advocacy taking place across the country, these issues continue to remain on the front burner in terms of both the House and the Senate, which is a good thing. Now, obviously, we would much prefer, instead of hearings being held, that one of these bills, whether it be full repeal, reform, whatever it might be brought to the floor of the House and the Senate. Let's have a vote. Let's get some relief brought to public retirees. However, we do believe that the continuation of public hearings, and this is the first hearing in the Senate, by the way, in more than a decade. So it's not like they've been having hearings year after year after year and nothing happening. I believe it's probably closer to 15 years ago that former Senator John Kerry held a hearing along with Susan Collins from Maine at that time on these same issues. But that was quite a while ago. So the important thing is that the spotlight continues to be shown on these issues. The unfairness of WEP and GPO continues to be highlighted. And most importantly, the financial hardship that's been brought about upon public retirees by these 2 awful federal laws continues to receive the publicity that's necessary in order to get this changed. Now, the structure of today's hearing, and it kicks off at 10 a.m. Unfortunately, it will not be broadcast online. The House of Representatives has broadcast both of their field hearings. The Senate is not, and we're not sure if it's a technical reason why not, or if they've just chosen not to. But from what we understand, 7 either public retirees or active Ohio employees will be testifying today, and the format's going to be very similar to what we saw in Baton Rouge, Louisiana back in November, where those retirees are allowed in their own voice to explain how these laws impact them, when they first learned of the existence of these laws, and really the dire consequences that they are suffering in retirement because of WEP and GPO. Now, in addition to hearing from the 7 invited witnesses who are going to provide official verbal testimony, the Senate Subcommittee on Social Security has also requested testimony, written testimony from retirees from across the country. Our association will be submitting written testimony on behalf of our members. However, we strongly encourage those of you who are affected by WEP and GPO, or if you're an active employee who will someday be affected by WEP and or GPO, please take the time to submit written testimony in your own words. Now, this does not need to be some long essay or, thesis or anything like that. It should not be any more than a short statement in your own words from the heart as to how you are impacted by WEP and or GPO. The fact that you paid into Social Security either before, during, or after your public service, that you earned these benefits, or in the case of the GPO, that your spouse earned the benefits. And now in retirement, you are being denied benefits that either you or your spouse earned, and that you quite frankly need as a retiree, and just how unfair that is. But again, your own words coming straight from your heart, a few sentences or a few paragraphs makes all the difference in the world. Now, we do not believe in form letters. As a former State House staffer myself, and I know that Nancy McGovern and Frank Valeri and Tom Bonarigo, who have a lot more State House experience than I ever had, will attest to this. Form letters are ineffective. And just think about it. If you got 1,000 form letters all saying the exact same thing, it's not going to have the same impact as a personalized note about your specific situation. It's a night and day difference, and that's why mass retirees, you'll never see us promote form letters. Now, that being said, if you're looking for pointers on what to say, visit massretirees.com. We have a wealth of information on our website about these issues. There's a subpage, the link is contained in the right-hand margin of our website, that is called WEP and GPO Explained. So there's a wealth of information for you to draw from to be able to get your points across, again, in your own words of how this impacts you and your family. And send that, the information of where to either email or mail that statement is contained in today's email message from Mass Retirees. It's also posted on our Facebook page just above this video, and on our YouTube page as well, along with this video. So that information is there for you. Now, going forward, we're going to continue to do everything we possibly can to make it clear that these issues must be addressed, and it's our hope and our focus to get these issues resolved during the current congressional session, but it remains an uphill battle. And for all the reasons that we've reported on, and in fact, the upcoming edition of The Voice, our newsletter, it's at the printers right now. It should be mailed in about a week. Next week's message will focus on some of the content within our newsletter, but we have 2 key articles in the July Voice relative to WEP and GPO. One is the testimony that we submitted to Congress back in April relative to the April 16th hearing before the House of Representatives. The second article is an analysis of that hearing and breaking down what was said by the 4 official witnesses, as well as our key takeaways from what we heard that day, both from the witnesses as well as from the questions and the comments and statements made by members of the committee. So look to that in the July Voice. Now, in addition to the hearing taking place today, our association participated earlier this week in the annual educational conference put on by MACRS. MACRS stands for the Mass Association of Contributory Retirement Systems. It is an organization that represents all 104 public retirement systems in Massachusetts. They are also one of the entities right in the retirement statute that is authorized to provide continuing education credits in classes for retirement board members. And you may have heard us talk about this before, but here in Massachusetts, the retirement law requires that all retirement board members, during the course of their 3-year terms in most cases, receive continuing education. And as retirement board members over the course of their 3-year term must receive 18, no less than 18 educational credits during that time period. And MACRS is one of just a handful of organizations that's statutorily authorized to provide those classes so board members can obtain their necessary credits. So they provide an essential function, not just in serving the retirement community, but also making sure that we have the best informed and educated and prepared retirement board members and retirement board staff possible. And the results really speak for themselves. If you look at the last 10 or 20 years of the investment returns across the board, Massachusetts has really led the way in many instances. There's an article, for instance, in the Wall Street Journal from just a week ago talking about the investment success of Plymouth County and some of the professionals that County Treasurer Tom O'Brien has brought on board to help work alongside of the investment professionals, the consultants that are hired to oversee the investment of Plymouth County pension assets. And that's just one small example of the day-to-day work that's going on. But a lot of that training and education and background information comes through MACRS. Now this year, there were approximately 500 registered attendees at the conference. MACRS is led by Association President Kathleen Kiley-Piketty. Her and Vice President John Brown were re-elected to new 2-year terms, so congratulations, Kathleen and John. Very much well-deserved. And as a matter of fact, they didn't have any opposition. So there's a lot of support for the leadership of MACRS. It was a great conference. I attended, Frank Valeri attended, both Tom Bonarigo, our legislative chairman, and Nancy McGovern, our legislative liaison, participated in the MACRS legislative panel, which is a key component of the conference. They both made presentations on various Mass retirees legislative initiatives, as well as some of our concerns at the local level regarding health care. It was very well received. We're starting to hear feedback and questions from local retirees, local officials relative to the basic life insurance. As you all know, the life insurance benefit for state retirees and active employees has been increased within the House budget. The increase was passed by the House. That measure is now before a House and Senate Budget Conference Committee, and we'll be talking about more of that conference in the coming weeks. But our plan is, our hope is that if the state does enact the increase in life insurance from the current $5,000 level up to $10,000, that it will serve as a catalyst for cities and towns across the state to do the same thing. No further legislation is needed at the local level in order for local communities to increase the basic life insurance benefit for municipal retirees and retired teachers. It is strictly a local decision. And what we saw back in 1985, of course, I was not here at that point, or at least not working here at Mass Retirees. I was in junior high school at the time. But it's my understanding that back in 1985, when the benefit was increased from $2,000 to $5,000, in the immediate aftermath of the state taking action, there was also quite a bit of local action as well. And we're hopeful, and the signs we're seeing are hopeful that that is going to replicate itself if and when the legislature acts on this, and we're cautiously optimistic that we'll be successful through the conference process. But with that, I'm going to log off for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, the information to submit your written testimony is contained in today's email, as well as within the notes accompanying this video. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.